How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video. We got ourselves some Pokemon leaks to take a look at, so sit back, relax, and let's get started with the first thing, which is, of course, going to be this post that was shared by originally Moot. I think Moot was the first one to actually post this, saying, can you feel the windy waves, OMG, in a picture of this character, which I think we've seen this picture of, like, it's basically Trainer N, if you know N from Pokemon Black and White, but it's a modified version of him with a few things changed, like, for example, the outfit being changed to look different, the hair looking different. Of course, it's not green, it's now black, and also there is a scar on the face. There is changes to the outfit. Obviously, it's a black outfit with some waves and some winds up there, in terms of icons, and of course some changes in terms of the other parts of it. So yeah. Now, why are we bringing this up? Well, because this is a hint from Moot, because Moot does seem to know some stuff, but it's supposed to be a hint for the next champion, apparently. So here's what Central said: Gen 10 leak, teaser of a new Gen 10 character. Following that tweet up, being this tweet saying that the teaser image here is the champion of Pokemon Winds and Waves, specifically a younger version of the champion, so that's interesting. The older champion, as appears in-game, has a longer hair down to the shoulders, goatee, as well as a coat, and has an important connection to the main legendary Pokemon. This is stuff we have heard, and apparently this is what we should expect in terms of, like, basically think of Trainer N, but it's kind of different, okay? A little bit different than Trainer N, but at least it's sort of in the same direction, maybe also implying that he's supposed to be similar in terms of vibes, if that makes sense. Like, think about how N is in the story, how kind of mysterious he is, and he's sort of like, he's kind of the guy, you know what I mean? He's the guy in the plot of Pokemon Black and White, so it kind of makes sense that he would be sort of similar in this case. And also, we're going with the hat on this time around. So, continuing on from here, what we have next is this tweet as well, coming to us from Light, who says something similar, who says, Pokemon Winds and Waves leaks. The teaser image shows the champion of Pokemon Winds and Waves in a younger version, around 30 years old. In the main game timeline, this character appears as an older champion with shoulder-length hair, a goatee, and a coat. He is said to be the oldest champion amongst all Pokemon games. The design shown is not the same as the Winds and Waves champion's final in-game appearance, but an earlier version of him. So I guess what he would look like when he was a young kid or something, or like a young trainer. The champion has an important connection to the main legendary Pokemon, which we already know. There's also hints suggesting a relationship to the legendary Pokemon similar to Trainer N, possibly a former owner or someone deeply connected to them. So that seems to be the implication here, at least what they're trying to imply, which is intriguing, to say the least. It's very interesting. But yeah, again, we're going to have to wait and see how this looks and what this means. But I'm just confused why they would be hinting at, like, the young version, and also what the young version has to do with the story. Is it a time travel thing? We're going to see the young version appear, is then the old version going to... I don't get the point of showing the young version here. What difference does it make, right? Like younger version around 30? Okay, so he's not even a kid. He's like 30 years old. So, again, I don't get the point of that, but I don't know. It is what it is. I guess we'll see what comes from that. Again, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Just let me know what you think about it. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What are your vibes about this? Just let me know. I'd love to know, brother. So just tell me, brother. Tell me. I'd love to know, brother. So yeah, that's the first thing. The next thing, though, is an interesting tweet. So Billy Delays Brown is this account called Billy Bob, and he changes his name quite frequently, but he is some sort of insider. He has shared stuff he knows, and his account is a little bit sus, to say the least. But he has been talking about something very strange here, which is give Pokopia another DLC. So apparently we do know that there's supposed to be DLCs coming, but he seems to be implying there's going to be another one on top of the one we already know about that's coming our way. So I'm very intrigued to see what that's going to be like, because we do know that Pokopia is supposed to be getting some DLC this year, apparently. So we'll have to wait and see what that's going to look like. And apparently, this is the implication here is... that we're getting Pokopia, and that's kind of replacing this year's, the original release date of, I guess, Pokemon Winds and Waves for this year, which is what was originally planned. We know this based on, like, leaked documents, and we're actually going to talk about that, because Soul actually has a whole thing about that right here, saying, recently noticed this about the original planned timeline for Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, and it's from this leaked, schedule here of what they were supposed to do. But here's what he says. So Gaia, or Gen 10 Winds and Waves, had a planned release date to be mid to late 2026. The Gaia DLC, so the Winds and Waves DLC, which is happening, by the way, started development probably mid-2026, and the Gaia DLC planned release date was early to mid-2027. Moving on, saying that Gaia or Winds and Waves has now been pushed back, but they still try to get it out a bit earlier than late year, like they had originally planned. Maybe the base game has been pushed back to when the DLC was supposed to be released in 2027, and the DLC is now going to release in late 2027. So basically, it will be like this: Gaia, July to September 2027, and then Gaia DLC. Again, Gaia is just a code name. If you're confused why I keep saying Gaia, whatever. Gaia is just a code name for Pokemon Winds and Waves, right? Like Pokemon Winds and Waves, like each Pokemon game has a different, what do you call it? A different code name. For example, Scarlet and Violet's code name internally was Titan, for example. But in this case, it is Gaia. And what the implication is here is that maybe because the original plan was to release, these games this year, like you can actually see right here. Gaia was supposed to release in like what? Like end of 2026, like the later half, and then the DLC was supposed to release like early 2027, like the first, like not the first few months, but like the first half of the year of 2027. So the implication here from him is that it's possible that Gaia itself, like the actual game Winds and Waves, would release at the same time the DLC was supposed to release in 2027, which is around that, like he said here, I think July, September, actually just really anywhere between March and I guess September, between that time frame. But then the DLC would take over the place of the 2020, beyond, right? Like, so the late year release, which is possible. Or maybe the entire timeline has been pushed back a year, meaning Gaia DLC for all of 2026, and Legend 3 won't be 2028 anymore, but instead be 2029. For reference, in the image above, you can also see how Ikaku, Pokémon Legends ZA, was meant to release in 2024, but was delayed to 2025. Then Mega Dimensions started development in late 2024 and was supposed to release mid-late 2025. So that long wait for ZA was also an unplanned delay. So yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. So he says it was actually 2025, but then again, I don't know where they're getting this image from. This doesn't make any sense. This is like unrelated. But yeah, so again, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on all of this. What do you feel? Do you guys, I mean, listen, you can comment down below. Do you think we're getting the game Winds and Waves? Are we getting it in November of 2027, like end of the year? Or are we going to get it earlier between March and like, let's say September, around like that time frame, which is still a long time frame in between. There's like half a year's worth of time, but still, what do you think? I'd love to know. Also, this is coming to us from Light. Apparently, he says, according to recent leaks, and by the way, this is supposed to be a new character that's showing up in the anime, but apparently, according to recent leaks, it's not certain that this year, a new character from Horizons will obtain the new Winds and Waves Pokemon, which is rumored to be a Rock Psychic type. We'll have to see how the new Wonder Voyage arc develops, as well as the supposed delay in Winds and Waves news. But also, yeah, we do know that this fish bird is supposed to appear in Winds and Waves, which makes sense because it's literally it's a fish and it's a bird. Winds and Waves, come on, it makes total sense to have a Pokemon like this. And apparently, it's going to be related to this new character, this new girl that's going to show up in the anime. So we'll have to wait and see what comes from that. But also, there's some stuff about this from Centro saying that it looks like we're going to get a Winds and Waves prequel anime, or at least explain via flashbacks some story details, especially of the new champion who has connections to the main legendaries. Don't know what the exact format will be, full-length episodes or a miniseries. And then also leaks via Moot, and I guess it's Moot from his stream where he was talking about this. If you want to check it out, go right ahead. But yeah, it's interesting. So moving on, next thing is Soul, who says, Pokemon leaks, now that Skitty is out of the bag, I was surprised and happy to see the long game seemingly played with this leak. A game possibly so long that who knows if this design will even make it into the final version. And again, we're talking about the champion. So here's what Ball Guy had to say about this a while back when he spoke about it. I think it was a while ago. No, it was a more recent tweet. Never mind. So he says, depiction of N from a few weeks prior. Okay, so he did post about this in the past, about the N thing. Prior is a representative of the champion of the region. Appearance in-game is quite different from a younger version attempting to be showcased. Longer hair to shoulders, goatee, as well as a coat, heavily connected to the lore between both the legendaries. So again, we've heard about that before. And also he says here, also I'm assuming just because we might not see the new Gen 10 Pokemon doesn't mean it's not there. And we're again talking about the anime, which apparently is rumored that the anime now, the new arc, is going to feature a Pokemon from Generation 10, which is I mean, listen, absolute cinema if they do. I'd love it when they reveal stuff in different media, like Koro leaks and stuff to reveal a Pokemon that's new, the anime doing it, spin-off games doing it, like Pokopia doing it, like maybe hinting at it with the yellow shellos. Anything is possible, right? So I'm intrigued. Also, Mood tweeted this picture saying new Winds, Waves, Riddles, OMG, check it out. And it's a picture of, I don't know who is that supposed to be Trainer N as well, but with blue hair? And is that Zelda from Legend of Zelda? Or am I like Breath of the Wild or some shit? Or Tears of the Kingdom? I cannot tell. And then, I don't know. I think it's a character. I think this is from like, what's that show called from Disney? Oh god, it's the one that people really like and is really popular. Gravity Falls, I think. It's a character from Gravity Falls. I don't really know. But yeah, I'm not sure what to go from this. Like, first picture is Zelda from Tears of... Yeah, okay, getting thrown back in time. And this... Okay, I see. So is it possibly trying to hint that we're going to see the young version of the champion showing up throughout the story, being thrown back in time, literally, like, to us, so we meet the younger version? Back in time. And the second is Stanford Pines from Gravity Falls coming back home after he got sucked into a portal from for several decades, lol. So, okay, so that's possible that we're going to see a future past version type deal of the character, right? Is that possible? Is that what we're going to see? Like, we're going to see, like, the champion, we're going to meet him from, the, like, when he's young, and then also the future version of him after he returns from the past or some shit like that. That actually would make sense. Interesting. Or interdimensional travel, somebody says. Like, interdimensional travel. Could be that, too. So that seems to be the implications. I was saying earlier, maybe it's possible that this champion, we're going to see, like the reason that the young version of him is being mentioned here is because he might appear in some shape or form, but the actual champion we see is going to be him when he's older, you know, after maybe having traveled through time and returned and then actually grown older over time. I don't know. Maybe that could be what they're implying here. It's an interesting rumor, to say the least. Also, Billy says, my aura is pulsing, which I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Whatever. And also... Necro Felipe says, a rumor of discussions and riddles makes me believe that Winds and Waves has a release window of somewhere between September and October 2027. Just a reminder that's not confirmed. It's just my opinion based on what I've been seeing from the leakers. So he is trying to kind of like put out his thoughts. And Necro Felipe does have some inside info sometimes, and he's a journalist, so he shares information and stuff he sees and his thoughts on stuff. And his thought process is that based on what he's hearing, September, October seems like a likely date. And to be honest, that still seems like the likeliest date for Winds and Waves. People are expecting it early in the year. I want to believe, but I kind of lost hope that that's going to happen, which I think a lot of people are happy about because they think that, oh, that means we're going to get more development time. But realistically, this game is done, okay? Like, at this point, don't expect them to do much more than just, like, some polishing. I would hope, you know, like at least some polishing, but like don't expect them to do anything grand with the time remaining. At this point, the game, like Pokemon games are made kind of in like batches where once like they've determined what they're doing, they will only do what's necessary for their goal. Like if they set their goal that this is the game they have to make, all they're going to do is make that game and they will not do anything extra or anything to make it like bigger or better or whatever. They only do what is like in front of them, right? Like it's the equivalent of, I don't even know what like comparison to make here, but like my main point is when they make a Pokemon game, they make just the game they set out to make and nothing more. Don't expect them to add extra features or extra locations or extra content or whatever else. The most you can expect is that at least they will polish the game so it will not run like absolute dog fucking doo-doo, which based on the trailers we've already seen from like the first Winds and Waves trailer, the game already looked like it ran pretty well. Like it didn't look bad in that trailer. I think it was already running at like 60 frames a second if I'm not mistaken. So the game looked like it ran well compared to like the Scarlet and Violet first trailer. Ugh, okay, okay, this looks way better already. So I'm pretty sure that the time they have left will only be used for potentially polishing. I think the most of the game, at least in terms of what was planned to be there, that's probably like the only thing they're going to work on. So don't expect, like if the plan was the game is supposed to be, I don't know, okay, the plan is to make this bottle right here, okay? But let's say without any of these extra, like, you know, markings or whatever else, like none of the branding, let's say, right? Like that's your goal, is just to make a green bottle. they're only going to make that green bottle. They're not going to do anything else. They're not going to do the branding. They're they're just making the bottle. That's like their goal is to just make the bottle that is Winds and Waves. And their original plan is that, and they're not going to do anything extra to it, is what I'm trying to say. They're not going to do anything outside of. So like people expecting like, oh, more development time. They can make the game bigger and better and more. No, the best they will do is hopefully, and this is just being hopefully thinking here, just iron out any issues. So don't expect them to somehow make like the graphics look better or whatever else, like by a brand, like giant margin. It's still going to be the exact game we've seen. And we're still going to get that. We're not getting anything that's grander or bigger or better than they originally planned, okay? Like, it's still going to be that same game. So just keep that in mind. If anything, all this does is, this extra year of time should just give them enough time now to work on their other projects and know that they have something to kind of like a buffer in between for the time being. But for the love of God, these announcements, like, it's weird because you have to understand Pokemon, and this is like just me yapping as a YouTuber, which you shouldn't listen to because I'm just an idiot. But like the thing with Pokemon games is that we've always had one game every year, which is a problem, but also from a, consumer perspective, you always kind of expect a game every year. And from a YouTuber perspective, it's even worse because I expect a game every year to talk about, make videos, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you get the shtick. You know what I mean? Me, I just want to make money. I love money, baby. So for me, I'm so used to getting a game every year, and there's used to be a formula to it. Every 3 years there'll be a new generation, but now that's kind of thrown everything out of the loop. And it's weird because the problem is now that they have quote unquote more time, which I don't think it really is more time. I think these delays don't really change anything internally to them. It only changes marketing if we're going to be honest. But because to them, they're still making the games in the same order they always have and always probably will. It's not going to change anything there. But the main issue, the main thing I want to bring up is that this kind of weird sort of shifting in when things get announced and when things are going to release and yada, yada, yada. It like messes up a lot of things in terms of order, in terms of what to expect, in terms of expectations as well, because I think this is almost more dangerous to them, this delay, than it is a good thing to them. The reason I say this is because now there is no excuse. If the game comes out and it's absolute dog shit, there is no excuses, because at that point they would have had essentially 2 extra years on top of the 3 normal years that they have in terms of time. Because you got to think about it. Let's do the math here. When did Scarlet and Violet came out? 2022, right? 2022 Scarlet and Violet came out. By the time this game comes out, it will have been 5 years since the last Pokemon generation. 5 years. That is the longest time we've gone between one Pokemon generation and the next Pokemon generation. Keep in mind, I've always compared Pokemon to Call of Duty because I think Pokemon is equal in terms of quality. No offense, okay? There used to be some bangers in the past, but most recent stuff has been kind of sloppy, okay? It's been kind of sloppy, shitty, and poorly produced. That's just the reality of it. But Pokemon always had that same formula too, which is one new game every year in some way, shape, or form, right? Some kind of game every single year, whether it was a remake or a third version or whatever else. Same thing Call of Duty does, but Call of Duty had 3 to 4 different studios working on a game each time, so they had 3 years worth of development time. And Pokemon games worked in the same way, where there was almost 2 to 3 years of development time per game, but now they've had 5 for Winds and Waves. 5 years. On top of pre-production, which is probably started a little bit before, I think, based on the leaks we've seen, right? Actually, I think we can go back here to the post and actually see. Here we go. So they started proper production started at like 2023. So they've had at minimum 4 years, right? At minimum 4 years to work on this. But realistically, that was 4 years with the planned release date. So 3 years was the original planned release date of 2026 here. But since it's coming out in 2027, it's the 4-year mark, right? But again, the game was already in pre-production and they were already planning it and stuff because they always do these things way ahead of time, okay? Like Generation 11 and Generation 12 are already essentially in development at this point, most likely in some form of pre-production, planning, etc., whatever else you want to call it, like them doing research and all that kind of stuff. That's already happening as we speak. Like right now, realistically, they're probably working on the next games like Legends Galar and like Generation 11 and plus DLCs and stuff, more likely working on that than they are working on Generation 10 Winds and Waves. Like Winds and Waves are probably just like on the sideline being worked on by people who just need to like patch things up, prepare the game, finish up anything, right? Because the game still needs to be finished, and actually completed, which we don't know if it is or isn't. I'm assuming it is. And now it's just being kind of like polished and fixing any issues to make sure that they don't have the Scarlet and Violet situation where the game comes out and it has a lot of brokenness to it, which people complain about and makes a whole drama. And then internally, they get complaints from higher management where they're like, why is the game like shit? Why we don't want to see these things? We want the reviews to be 10 out of 10s. So yeah, it's intriguing to say the least, and I'm very curious to see when we're gonna get this game and all that kind of stuff. But that's gonna be it for today, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day.